There's a lot of people that say that I love you with one breath and they will talk behind your back in the next. If you want to know if somebody really loves you with the love of Jesus Christ, it can only be defined by verbs and actions. Are they patient with you? Are they kind? Do they envy you or do they boast about themselves around you? Are they arrogant? Are they rude? Do they always insist on their own way? Are they irritable and resentful? Do they rejoice when bad things happen to you or when the bad things happen to other people? Do they lie? Do they cover it up? Do they decide that they want to quit when the going gets tough? If these things are present in a person, you have to question, do they really love you? Are they really a follower of Jesus? Do they really have the fruit of the Spirit, love? We continue to read verse 7. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. And then we read verse 8. Love never ends. As for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. All of these other spiritual gifts are going to go away. Verse 9. For we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when the perfect comes, the partial will pass away. Verse 11, when I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. If you're over the age of 25 and you spend more than 20 hours a week playing video games, you don't get paid for it. Maybe you should give up something. That's not in my notes. That's free. Sorry. I don't play video games, so I can say it. Verse 12, for now we see in the mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall fully know, even as I have been fully known. And verse 13, that most famous of verses, so now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love. Love chooses to love even when it doesn't like. And real Christian love, not only is it described by verbs and actions, it doesn't have an expiration date. Knowledge is going to pass away. Wisdom is going to pass away. Prophecy is going to go away. All of those things are going to go away. When it's all said and done, love never ends. It doesn't have an expiration date. It is eternal. Gifts will cease. There won't be a need to build up the church anymore. When Jesus comes back and we're living with Him, we won't need people that have the spiritual gift of teaching because it won't be necessary because we'll be in the presence of God. That will go away, but love will endure. It will continue for eternity. Can you imagine just for a second what He says? We will then be fully, we'll fully know as we are fully known. Can you just imagine what it means and what it means to the life of a believer to be fully known? I'll be honest with you, like if I'm laying open my soul and bearing it, like to be fully known by somebody, that scares me to death. That freaks me out. As much as my wife knows me and she knows me better than anybody else, she can read me like a book, she can't tell you what I'm thinking. From moment to moment, there's only one person that fully knows us, and that's Jesus. But can you imagine standing in front of the Savior and being fully known and fully loved? Here's the hope of today. You don't have to wait for some future point to experience that. You can experience that right now today. That is available to you and I as a fruit of the Spirit. So when we walk with the Spirit and we keep in step with the Spirit, we understand what it means to be loved. Britton's going to come up and he's going to prepare to lead us in one more song. And as he does, I want us to think about this one thing. My wife is really into flowers and planting things. And there's this type of flower that we want. It's a little expensive. It's not terribly expensive, but it's a little expensive. And we found out that we have a friend that has this particular flower. And we asked if we could get some cuttings off of their plant. and we were going to stick the cuttings in the ground, and we're going to try and root this plant, right? So we can plant it in our yard, and we have this plant, and it'll be awesome, and it'll be gorgeous. And as we were getting ready to do it, she mentioned, she goes, the willow tree, a willow tree, when you take a cutting and you put it in the soil, the willow produces a hormone that encourages roots to grow. I didn't know that. So basically, if you have a willow, you can just go cut off a branch, stick it in some soil and water, and that cutting will produce hormones and it will root out. And so a trick of master gardeners is to take a cutting of willow and put it in the same pot as like a rose cutting or a different flower cutting, and you put them together, and that willow cutting will produce a hormone that will encourage root growth for the other flower. And it's easier to root that cutting in conjunction with the willow. You can sometimes do it on your own, but it makes it easier when you have that willow cutting together. And what I'm trying to get at is, you can love for a little bit on your own, but it won't be like a true sacrificial love. You can extend mercy for a little bit, but it won't be like real mercy. It'll just be to the point where you come to the end of yourself and then it's no more. But if you want to experience real love, if you want to give real love to somebody and experience it back, you can't do it in isolation. You have to do it with the help of the Spirit. When you walk with the Spirit and stay in step with the Spirit, He will root and grow in you true Christian love, which then will outflow to the people around you. Would you stand and join us as we sing?